It's just such good music.
I know, it's such good music.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the very next episode of The Remedy with Tova Sido and
Janice Gaunt and
Tom Bridwell.
hello, everybody.
hello everybody.
Hello.
It's very enthusiastic.
So happy to see you guys.
I'm so happy to see y'all too. I always love seeing y'all. This is like always a highlight of my week.
I know, we
It's
need to
fun.
get together more. You
Yeah,
know?
we do need to.
I
I always
know.
say that. I always think that.
I know.
But and then just another day goes by that you don't get together.
I know. We
like-
got to do it.
We really need to do that.
Yeah.
I want you and Tom to cook for us again.
You do, but I'm not going to fall and hit my head.
Oh, I can't believe that.
Oh, that was
happened.
terrible.
That was not a fun night.
It was so fun until that.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, we've got to thank our sponsor for today, Jennifer Lerma. She sponsored this series last week and this week on cheating, which is not that much fun. I'm sure. Sorry, Jen.
Jennifer Lerma.
Lerma.
Is that Lerma?
Yep.
Is she married to a guy named Pete?
Yep.
Okay, that's crazy. I just ran sound for a band at the Lerma Agency last Thursday.
Oh,
And
That's crazy.
It was nuts. That their offices are amazing.
aren't they cool?
Very cool.
Yeah, he is a very successful man.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was on the 7th floor. It was looking out over Woodall Rogers.
Yeah.
There
Oh,
was a
nice.
band. It was amazing.
That's so cool.
He's in branding, advertising.
Yep.
He-
And yeah.
He did a lot of the commercials for the Super Bowl.
One of his employees,
Oh,
this
wow.
guy named
Very
this
fun.
guy named Brian Linder, who works there. I hadn't seen him in like 15 years, and I saw him at that party. He designed the album cover for one of my band's records.
Oh, that's
Oh my
super
gosh.
cool.
It's a
What a
small
small world.
I know, it's why you got to behave.
I know, that's why you got to be nice.
That's
You're
why you
going to
gotta-
see him again.
So true. You're gonna have to deal with them again.
My mother used to say that. She would say, now, be nice. It'll catch up with you if you're not. And sure enough, I got busted time or two.
Oh yeah, you. Yeah, I mean, I was talking with a young girl today who's in college, and she starts telling me, I can't believe what this girl tells me, but she starts telling me who she hooked up with, and I know the kid. I know that boy's parents. I'm like, oh God.
TMI, TMI, TMI.
I'm like, man, it is a small world. You have got to behave. You have got
That
to
is
behave.
so true.
And he was a jerk to her. The next night, he was making out with another girl at
Oh.
a party. And so she was really upset about it. And I'm like, I want to talk to that boy.
Man, that really ties into our topic.
It
Yes,
does.
it does. So last week, we talked about cheating. What is cheating?
Yep.
How to each of us. And I like that we look at it a little differently. Like, Tom, you look at it a little different than me and Janice. Nobody's right. Nobody's wrong.
Yeah.
Just what is your value system? What is your comfort zone?
Yep.
And then this week, we're going to talk about how do you recover and reconcile if you want to save your relationship.
Yeah.
And if you don't, if it's a deal breaker like it is for you and I, Janice, and Tom, if it's a deal breaker for you, how do you successfully get out? And because the trauma of it is so significant, how do you recover individually?
It's so difficult, and it's hard to, I think that, like, at my age, if Tom was unfaithful, I would definitely get out of the marriage. Not going to do that. Not going to fool with it
Nope.
at all. But that's very different. I mean, I'm 71 years old, So if I were, 31 and had been married 3 years or 4 years or something
have
like
two
that,
small
and I
children,
had two small
And
children,
you haven't worked in 5 years?
yeah, it's a whole different ball game.
Feels a lot scarier.
Yeah, it really, really does.
Yeah.
So I think
That's such a good point to bring up.
yeah. So, it's so easy for me to say, yeah, I would leave because I don't, I have money. I'd get some of Tom's. And, and I have friends and I've got children and I've got grandchildren. My life is really full and I would be sad. I'd be very, very, very sad. But it would be so much easier for me at this age than it would have been early on.
Yeah.
Because so I have a lot of empathy and I do understand why people stay.
Yeah, I do too.
Because it just seems so hard to not stay.
Yes. Yes.
And you think about your children and
you think about your family, you think about the holidays, and you think about the rest of your life dividing. You have no idea, not you, but when you're in that and you're deciding whether or not to stay married or get divorced. For me, yes, I'm getting divorced, but when I said that, when I was divorcing Topher, I had no idea what that would look like or what that would mean. And Topher and I get along great.
Yeah.
We do. We have a very amicable relationship. We're both great parents, and it works. It works swimmingly. However, as swimmingly as it works, it's still really hard.
And really sad.
And really sad.
It affects the heck out of kids.
Oh, yes, it does.
And you. And, so it
and your family.
And your family.
And your friendships.
Yeah. I mean,
your community.
All of that. All of that is so to leave a relationship or a marriage, let's say it's a marriage, there is a fallout. And it takes a lot of time and some open-mindedness to be able to get through that.
Yeah. And the fallout is lasting. I mean, Craig just had Parents Weekend this weekend, and he and his ex-wife were both there, and they get along well too. I'm not there, but he's not with her. And he's not with me. I had a wedding here this weekend, and and I had a wedding here, and I'm alone at a wedding here, and he's alone at Parents Weekend in Austin. It's just, and if we were married, we would be together.
Yeah.
We would be doing all the things together.
Yeah.
And so it's still affecting me. It's still affecting Craig.
Yeah, it does.
It has a lasting effect.
It does. And so that's why you don't take it lightly.
No.
And, I think that is one of the things. I think a lot of times, especially people that are listening to this podcast, the majority of the people that are listening to it are women. And so I think that, it's important that we remember that men are greatly affected by that too.
Absolutely.
And women cheat.
Women that might be cheating more.
When
these
there's
days.
a guy that's cheating, there's a woman that is participating in that.
Right.
And so we forget about the fallout for men.
Yeah.
But it is. It's very difficult. And,
women cheat a lot.
well,
I mean,
there's
I know lots.
Yeah, most men are cheating with women. So, it is true. And I think that fortunately for me and fortunately for you, Tova, is that we have a relationship with our ex-husbands that is really good. Kurt comes to every single holiday at our house. He's always welcome. Tom's wife is always welcome to come to. I mean, it's just like the whole damn fam, comes and it works out fine. But it wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
And it was complicated.
Yeah.
And it was hard for my kids.
Yeah.
When they were in middle
course.
school, when Kurt and I got a divorce, it was hard.
And they're having to choose, or you're having to choose, and they're
Yeah.
leaving mom on Christmas. That's hard on kids.
Yeah. So, so I think that the fallout for cheating is really difficult. And I think that since we're talking about how people get through it when they've been on the receiving end, let's say, for that, is a whole lot of crying,
Oh yeah.
angry, wanting to,
And then wanting to reconcile, and then the roller coaster of
yeah.
do I reconcile? Do I leave? Do I stay? Do I go? How do I leave? But how do I stay?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people really struggle with, I don't want to lose what we have.
No, they don't want to lose the structure of that family system. And then it's, and then you're like, well, why am I staying? How hard is that going to be for me or for, the man, if the woman cheated, for the man to be
intimate.
To even like her, and to be kind in front of the kids and all of that.
Yeah.
So there's just such a great fallout. And I think that what people have to remember is that when this happens and the person that's on the receiving end of the cheating is that you go through an incredible up and down of emotions.
Yeah.
And the
that's
pain is just unbearable because what you thought you had has been blown to smithereens, so to speak. And then the next minute you're furious and you want them to leave, but I mean it's really tough. And I think that people,
you feel like you're going crazy.
You do.
I mean, and I'm not the only one who has ever said that. Like, I felt like I was going crazy. I had never felt so out of control of me.
Yeah.
Than when I found that out.
So one minute you're like, okay, you know what? I think I can make it through this. And then the next minute you're like,
on the floor.
Oh my gosh. And you're on the floor or you want
scratch eyeballs out.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a myriad of emotion. You go through a grief process that lasts for 2 years.
Yeah. I remember when you told me that. I actually really appreciated knowing that because it kind of gave me permission to have all of those emotions
and
for
not
as long
think
as
that
I
you're
need
crazy.
It. No.
Yeah.
It really did help me. So is it your experience, Janice, I'm curious, that people who come to you who have experienced infidelity in their marriages and in their relationships, in your experience, do most people stay together or do most people break up or get divorced?
I think a lot of it depends on their age. I think the younger they are, the more, if they have kids in elementary school, middle school, high school, I think those people tend to stay. And I think people, once their kids have, probably gone to college or even later on, they don't. Because, what's interesting is that you would be surprised at the number of marriages that break up because of cheating of people in their 60s and 70s.
That is really fascinating.
Yeah, because, I think that, I don't know why. I'm kind of making this up.
It's because monogamy is unnatural.
For you.
For most animals, for most species. I'm not trying to be chauvinistic here. I'm
not saying that
I'm being
you are.
scientific.
I'm just saying that for me, monogamy is very natural.
If you're 60 years old and you've been married for 40 years, and you've stayed true, I'm sorry, but you're bored.
Well, I do think
Janice
boredom.
isn't bored.
No, I'm not bored at all. I think that there is something to that, though, Tom, because I think that as people get in their 60s and even in their 70s, people are still
that blue pill must work really well.
They're anxious. Not everybody has to have the blue pill, but then because they are bored. And because their children, let's say, have left home, and even though they have grandchildren and all of that, your day to day can be monotonous, and so you would be surprised, I think, at the number of people that cheat in their 60s and 70s.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
I have not
crazy.
encountered that a lot.
Yeah, I've had several people. And I don't even know where they're doing the dirty or not, but
Like on all the Cialis and Viagra commercials, they're not in their 70s.
but they're in their 60s, a lot of them.
Late 50s and 60s.
Yeah. They're trying to make
the 70-year-olds
everybody feel better.
I guarantee you my mother and dad were having sex when they were in their 70s.
I love that.
Yeah.
I I hope I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm ready.
But it is interesting because it's not just it's people of all ages a lot of people have trouble limiting their appetite.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I hear that. I don't feel that personally.
I don't either.
I think all of that sounds exhausting.
Really?
Craig is everything I want in every aspect. I don't need to, like, another person in the mix would just be like,
Yeah, it would be complicated. It would be difficult.
Very complicated.
Yeah, and I think that, when you think about people that have been on the receiving end of infidelity and how they heal and how they have to walk down that very long, dry country road.
That's a great description.
It's just all alone. You feel like you're totally all alone. There's nobody around, and it's difficult.
It's only as far as Albernese.
Ain't that the truth?
That's the road That's the road to recovery.
I will never forget.
It's only down Oak Lawn.
And in Albernese, and you walk in, and there's the bar, is right there that you walk through, and there are all these older men sitting around the bar with younger women that are wanting to bling it out.
Yep.
They're looking for Prince Charming.
For those of you who are not familiar with what Albernese is, that's if you're single and you want a fella.
Or a sugar daddy.
It goes both ways. That's a cougar den. I mean, come on now.
No, I 100% agree with that.
Oh.
That's freaking hilarious. Okay, so Janice, in your opinion, the couples that have you ever seen, I'm curious about this, have you ever seen a couple recover, like, in the most beautiful way?
Yes.
So let's talk about
that.
How on earth did that happen?
I think that the couple that I have in mind I think their children were like in their children were maybe in middle school.
Okay.
And they just didn't want to get a divorce. Mm-hmm. And they have probably one of the happiest marriages I've ever seen. That's amazing. And what's really cool about what they do is they'll talk to couples. They'll have people over and they'll talk to couples
about what they went through.
And as a
matter, they're very open about it.
So they're open about it, and they. I think that there are people who definitely recover from it, and they are happily married.
How do you recover?
Forgiveness. That's it. You have to forgiving grace to the other person. Mm-hmm. And that's not easy, but because if the thing about it is our brains are very deceptive. Mm-hmm. Because when we hold on to a thought like, oh my gosh, he cheated, or oh my gosh, she cheated, and blah, 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 blah. And they just keep going over that and over that and over it and
Which
over.
Is so understandable.
And wanting the details. Yes, of course it is. Mm-hmm. But that keeps that alive. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like I visualize like a growth in somebody's brain that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And eventually, what people have to do is they've got to go through the grief process, and then when you grieve effectively, which is feeling sadness, mm-hmm. anger, and you get through denial, mm-hmm. It's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Those are the stages of grief. And you continue to feel those feelings. Eventually, it will start to dissipate if you stop bringing it over and over and over again and listening and going over the details of it over and over again.
It's such a good point, and that was a big part of why I knew I could not stay married.
Yeah.
because there was not a world where I could stop that tape. And it was killing me and it was killing Topher. Because there's only so much that he can take too. You know, and I remember one time he said to me, am I going to pay for this for the rest of my life? And I was like, maybe.
Yeah.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, I was so angry. And you know, now I'm so past it. I completely forgive.
Yeah, it was pain.
The pain was so bad, but I mean, now I don't carry any of it. And but I understand why he would ask that. I mean, he made mistakes, and he's a human, and I do have grace for him, but I could not stay married to him.
And that can be the choice that people make. And I think that, you know, the thing about forgiveness is it doesn't mean it's okay.
Right.
But we do that for ourselves.
Absolutely.
So that it doesn't eat us up.
Yeah, make us sick.
And I think if you harbor that resentment and over and over and over again, I personally think it causes cancer.
Yeah.
And I think that it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So you're not doing it for them to let them off the hook. You're letting yourself off the hook.
Right.
You know?
I agree with that so much. I really admire people who can forgive and stay married. I mean, it is a gear I don't have.
Yeah.
I don't.
And that's okay too.
Yeah, that's okay. Both are okay. I think, you know, I'm sure you've seen this. I experienced it myself when I was going through what I was going through. I had people judge me for staying. You know, when I thought, we'll work through this and I'm gonna forgive him, and I didn't tell a lot of people because I didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't want people to hate Topher.
Yeah.
But I had some friends who judged me for staying.
Yeah.
Thinking about staying.
Yeah.
And then I had people who judged me because I left.
Well, and you're a minister.
Yeah.
So.
Which made it more complicated.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it made it a lot more complicated and a lot more shameful. You know, I already come from plenty of religious shame.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
This exacerbated that for sure. But I love hearing that. I know two couples who have recovered so beautifully, but it is amazing to watch that healing. Do you think that couples who experience that have to get help?
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
Her phone just said something.
It said
her British Siri.
Is that cheating?
Maybe. It sounds hot. Wait, what was I asking you?
I don't know. That's such a faux pas. I am so
Tom,
sorry.
do you remember what I would just asked her?
No.
Dang it.
You were talking about the couples that make it together.
I don't know what I asked, but I really wanted to know that
I promise
answer.
I'm not cheating.
I immediately started trying to think of a joke and
That's
just lost my train of thought.
That's fine. We'll find it back. I was going. There it is.
There it is.
I was going to ask, if a couple experiences infidelity in their relationship, do you think they have to get help to be okay?
Yes.
I do too.
I do. I think we're just too human.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you have to get in therapy and get help.
Well, and you need support. You need
you
emotional support.
That is something you gave me so much, Janice, that I just needed so bad, because you have all these feelings and emotions and fear and sadness and hurt and anger. And, you know, I didn't care what Topher was going through, but he had his own deal of shame and embarrassment. And now that I'm away from it, I actually have compassion for the fact that he was also going through something at the time. And I don't know how you recover from that without getting help.
Yeah, I agree, because it's so confusing, and you're just
it's so big.
And the thing about when people go through grief, it's so one way 1 second, and then 30 minutes later it's this, and then it's so crazy, it's chaotic. It's like a roller coaster that goes on and on and on and on until you get to the point of it calming down to where you can start slipping into acceptance, which never means it's okay.
Right.
It just means it is what it is.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay.
I accept it.
Yeah, I accept it.
So if you decide to go, so if you go through this and you decide to stay, you need help. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
That's the advice that I would give anybody is get help collectively and get help individually. But if you decide to go
Yeah.
and leave the relationship, what kind of advice do you give individuals who are desperate to heal from that pain?
Well, it's pretty much the same thing in that it's about naming, identifying, and feeling those feelings. I think that what was difficult for me, even when I got a divorce, was the groups of people that I felt like I'd been alienated from, because my ex-husband had his own, like he is in salesmanship club and all of that. So he had a group of people around him, and then I had my friends, and it was like when I would go to a party and I'd go by myself.
Yeah.
And I would just stand there for a
I
little
know
bit.
that feeling.
And I just felt like it was like I was a freak or something.
Yeah.
And
You feel really alone.
You feel very alone. And I would stay like maybe 30 minutes to a party and go home.
For sure. I
Because
went to a
it's-
wedding where I stayed 5. I made one circle around Brook Hollow and I got the hell out of there.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brook Hollow is awesome.
Oh, no doubt.
All you gotta do is go up to the bar, take a couple shots of tequila,
I didn't have that
and then
gear.
just go strike a conversation
Oh my-
with.
But you can do that later on. But when it's early on,
Yeah.
I couldn't. I didn't have anything to say to
Me
anybody.
neither.
I was just
just
mad
wanted
at
to go home.
everybody. Me too.
Yeah, I don't want to see happily married people. I don't want to see single people. You just want to go home.
I just want to just go home.
I was mad at everybody.
Go buy Bubba's.
Yeah.
Pick up chicken.
Get some mashed potatoes. Put some green beans in them with my roll. Okay, so you would also advise a person who's deciding to go to absolutely get help.
Because I think there's a real body of shame and guilt in that person.
Oh, yeah.
And I felt it. I mean, I was the one that wanted the divorce, and I didn't cheat, but I didn't, I felt terrible about it. But I knew I couldn't stay.
Yeah. You could not stay.
No, I could not
There's
stay.
other reasons to go.
Yeah, exactly. So it's tough. It's really tough. And I strongly urge people that are listening, if you have friends that are going through this, make sure that you reach out to them fairly frequently, because
great advice.
it lasts a long time.
Yeah.
And you may think, oh God, I don't want to pick up the phone because they're so sad, but it just does wonders for people to know that other people are on their side and that they love them and that they're going to be okay. And if you yourself have been divorced, or you've been with someone who cheated, just for somebody else to say, I know how that feels, and I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And it will get better.
It will get better.
Yes.
And I would also, along that same vein, and I loved that you brought that up, I would also encourage people to keep including. If you had dinner parties.
So important, Tova.
If you had dinner parties and you always had Tova and Topher, just because we're divorced doesn't mean I don't want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was so happy for so many years being third wheel, fifth wheel, seventh wheel. I still wanted to go to dinner. I still wanted to be included in the party.
Want to go on a vacation.
I still wanted to go on vacation.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated those friends of mine who continued to include me even though.
Yeah. That's so important. I'm glad that you brought that up.
Well, you reminded me of it. So, Tom, have you ever been cheated on?
Yes, I have. And it was awful. I learned though. It was in college and I was really in love with this girl and she was cheating with her old boyfriend before me. And like an idiot, I gave her another chance, but I was so worried that she was going to do it again that I was like untrusting and
You turned
just
into a
totally
freak.
up her ass all the time about where she was, and it just made it awful.
Yep.
And so she ended up leaving me, and she basically on her way out, she was just like, "You need to work on like trusting." She's like, "I know I made a mistake, but like you drove me away with your distrust."
Yeah.
But how do it's
And
so
I
hard
did
to
learn that
trust.
lesson. Well, pardon?
It's so difficult to trust again.
Agreed. We were in college. I mean, I wasn't even 21 yet,
Yeah.
so I kind of feel like I was a kid, and so it doesn't really count. Sort of. I was still learning, but
Sure.
in my old age, I've never forgotten that, and I've been pretty trusting. I mean, I can tell. I feel like I have good intuition, and I can tell if somebody is deviant. And
That's hilarious. Are me and Janice deviant?
I'm not.
know,
You may be, but I'm not.
yes, and since that girl in college, there's only been one other time in my years of dating that somebody cheated, and she doesn't know that I know.
Still?
Yes, to this day, she doesn't know. I found out, but never told her. We broke up, but I never told her that I knew.
Wait, were you dating her when you found out?
Yes.
Why on earth did you not bring that up?
Because we were
That's so fascinating.
Because I was about to break up with her anyway.
Oh.
And so I just kind of
But perfect
loved I
excuse.
loved having that as like my back pocket ace up my sleeve.
Ace in the hole.
But I didn't even need it because when I discussed breaking up, it was like again another Seinfeld reference. We both kind of blurted out at the same time, "I hate you." It was pretty easy.
I hate you. Don't leave me.
Yeah.
Borderline.
Yeah, totally.
So how old were you when that happened?
The one, okay, so that would have been like when I was 27 or 8. 27 or 8.
Have you ever done therapy, Tom?
I did when I was in high school, but I don't really, I don't know. I'm not into therapy. I'm not into it.
Don't
This is
say
therapy.
that on air.
This is therapy right here. Like I get
It
to.
is therapy.
I know.
I think good old fashioned conversations are therapy.
Oh,
They
for
sure can be. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
You just
Yeah.
got to make sure you're talking to the right people.
Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you.
Somebody just says, just don't act the fool.
Just
I
don't
mean,
act the fool.
Regarding this, my opinion on this topic for this episode about recovering from or how do you deal with infidelity, I think for myself, I would kind of look at it as, okay, so we had an agreement we weren't going to do this. It's hard for a man to not. I think it's harder for a man to keep up that end of the bargain than it is for a woman. And so if a woman cheats, it's almost like, okay, you've just given me a free pass. Like we're going to break up and now I get to go act on the things that I wasn't acting on.
What you've been wanting to act
That is
on.
not a remedy.
But you can't really.
That's retaliation.
But it's like, but if somebody cheated on you, like you can't. I couldn't recover.
Yeah.
There's
so
no
then
way.
you just get out.
I could not.
So you're not
I could never forgive.
tit for tat.
I could
Yeah.
never. I learned. I forgave the girl in college. Biggest mistake. I should never have forgiven her. But I could never forgive somebody for cheating, and it kind of just proves the point that like monogamy's hard, and so I made this agreement, and if you cheated on me, then now we're gonna break up, and I get to go have fun too. Daddy gets to play too.
I mean, it is one remedy.
It is a remedy. Yeah.
The remedy with Tom Bridwell.
Tom's remedy.
Tom's remedy.
I'm like, I need tissue, a pill that makes me feel better, some sort of antidepressant.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't have hurt. I would, of course, be hurting inside. But once that was over,
you'd be out playing.
yeah, it's easy to get over somebody by getting under somebody. If you know what I mean. That's an ender.
He clearly is not a therapist.
No, I'm not. That's not going in my book. Easiest way to get over somebody is to get under somebody. And they'd be like, why am I paying you again?
I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. I'm just...
Oh, that's hilarious.
You're probably exactly what your friends need when they are going through it. 'Cause
That's exactly
if I had
right.
heard that when I was going through it, I would have laughed my butt off and been like, you know what? Maybe so. One
gosh.
thing that Anna Prince said one time that I just absolutely loved, you know, when they're young and they say the smartest things.
Yeah.
She said something like, Mom, I just don't understand cheating. And I was like, I don't either. She was like, it's the stupidest thing in the world. Like, if you think about it, if you're not happy and you want to go be with somebody else, use your words.
Love it. Genius.
I'm unhappy and I want to go be with somebody else.
And she's like, it's just words. And I'm like, it's just words.
Out of the mouth of
It takes so
child.
much more effort
Oh,
to keep up lies and all of the deceit. Like, it just...
And all the hiding of your phone and all of the angst of the deceit.
Or you can just use your words, and that might be uncomfortable for a few moments, but then it's over and you did it right.
And
I
you
tell
did
you
it
what,
right. Exactly.
If I ever cheated, it would be all over my face. I can't. I would never. I couldn't do it. I would feel so guilty.
Oh, the guilt would kill me.
It would kill me too.
I wouldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. It would.
Yeah.
I think I would rather die than deal with the aftermath of me cheating on Craig. Not only for him, but for myself.
Yeah,
for my children.
I know.
If I had to call my children and tell them that, if his children had to hear, put me out. Just take me out. I couldn't.
There's so
not do
much
it.
to lose.
So much to lose.
Like your friends and your reputation and your
name.
relationship, your kids. There's just so much to lose.
And I've never had that good of an orgasm. Just haven't.
To make it worth your while.
To make it worth that? There's no way.
Oh no, it's too. The cost is way too big.
And when you're in it, you're not thinking of the cost.
No.
But good Lord, you need to think of the cost.
I know.
Like, if you're doing that right now, you just need to know the wake is the biggest fucking boat that's ever been on the ocean.
Yeah.
It's
big.
Huge.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Tom?
Nothing. No.
Nothing. You don't have any other words of wisdom before we wrap it up? Good Lord. I feel like we just had to undo what you did.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, that's enough. Time to go.
I actually love it.
I did
I
love
do
this
too.
topic.
No,
This
it was
a fun
great.
topic.
It was good.
It's necessary in the way the world
does
works.
happen.
And to your point, Tom, for a lot of people, monogamy is difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
true.
if that is hard for you, don't get in a relationship.
Yeah.
Get out
exactly.
of a relationship. Just use your words.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
follow Anna Prin.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right. We hope you guys have a great week. If you're in the middle of this, get some help.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yes. Thanks for listening.